Welcome back to the Shared Diary. This is the space where the private becomes public and the stories we usually keep to ourselves finally find a home. I'm Lori.
I'm Debbie. And I'm Nicole.
We are three women with no secrets, just life. Because life is always better when the diary is open. So grab a seat, lean in, and let's get into today's entry. Hello, everyone. We are so glad you're here. Welcome to the Shared Diary. This is a space, a shared space. It's a podcast, but it's also a conversation. So we are talking today about community and why some communities feel like home and others don't. We've all been there, right? You're in a networking group, or you're in a Facebook group, or you're in some in-person group, and it just doesn't feel like you fit in. And so Debbie and I both run communities, and I'm so excited to talk about this because, as you know, Debbie, this is a hard thing to do. It's not easy to get people to come in and stay. So I am super excited about just talking about this, because I think what's going to happen is we're going to we'll realize that this community is pretty cool. This Shared Diary community is pretty cool. And I think it is already. But yeah, so we're talking about why some communities feel like home and others don't. So I'm just going to read a diary entry on this topic. I think it's important for us to kind of get in a headspace of, these are our thoughts, these are our conversations, but you're a part of it. So I want everyone to just focus and listen to this and pretend like this is you writing in your own diary. So here we go. Dear Diary, I've been putting myself out there, joining communities, attending networking events, meeting new people, and I'm proud of myself for doing something that isn't always easy. But I've noticed how differently communities can make us feel. Some welcome us in, others leave us feeling like we don't belong. One gathering made me self-conscious. Another introduced me around, included me in the conversations, and made me eager to return. It reminded me that we never know what it took for someone to walk into a room alone. A simple come sit with us can change everything. Maybe finding our people isn't only about asking where we belong. Maybe it's about asking how others feel when they're around us. So why do I feel this way? How can I find a community that feels like home? So Debbie, what are your thoughts after hearing that diary entry?
Yeah, well, so many. Honestly, I could journal multiple pages on just what you asked there and what came up for me. One of the things that felt that it was important for me to speak out loud is I always say to people, do you know what it feels like to walk into a dinner party or an event that you might be the only stranger? Don't you love and appreciate a host or hostess that literally invites you in and says, come on, let me introduce you to our people, versus somebody that just kind of waves at you at the corner and you're sitting there all night wondering if you should really be there. And so that to me is the feeling, because I'm always about what's the feeling that I want them to come, like recognize where they are, recognize that nervousness, recognize those thoughts that are going through their mind, put myself in that spot, and then how do I change that so that I do make sure they feel like they belong and that I want to learn about them. I don't just want to say, hey, look at me. I want to learn about them.
Exactly. I love that. That is so, so, so true. And I think that when we get into those communities that do make us feel welcome and do say, hey, come sit with us, we find that we are comfortable. And I remember a point in this diary entry where it said, I didn't feel welcome. I was self-conscious, and just like naturally, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, the video portion of this, naturally, I just kind of closed up like this. And I do remember several times where I felt like an outsider. And I think it's so important for us to, excuse me, include people. So I love that. I love that. And have you ever, like I said, have you ever walked into a room and thought, these are my people, and you can relax? And so there's a difference there, right? So Debbie, I would love for you just to talk maybe just a little bit about your community and how you make it feel like home.
Yeah, and I think this is really such a great example. When I was thinking of it, and Nicole can't be with us today, which I'm shouting out Nicole, and that she's just such a beautiful part of this. This is her very first time missing. But it also opened up for us to talk about community. She would have added a lot to it too, because she started to build community and then realized it was way too much work and took focus off of the things she was wanting to do in business. Me and you run communities quite different, and yet there is an overlap. And I think we'll come up with that today. But I wanted to build a community that wasn't about numbers, that it was very much about a curated group of people that really was just like, you have your ideal audience, those people that you would love to serve. Those were the ones invited into the community, because it kept this culture and this safe space for everybody inside the community to know that I was protecting the space, protecting the culture, protecting them, not from, you know, outside evil, because we are all capable of like cleaning our own energy and making sure that we do that, but outside people that didn't build community in the way that I did. And I'm talking, and I'll speak it out loud because it happens in communities. There's people that purchase products and come to retreats and go to networking and come into your community only to steal your people and take them away. And I never wanted my people to feel like they were fish in a pond. I never wanted them to feel like that.
I love that. That's so true. And it's sad that we have to look out for that kind of thing when we're trying to create a space. And that's why there's, rules, right? Even in-person networking events, maybe you've been to one of these where you go around and share. Well, you have a certain amount of time to share, and you're not supposed to be like salesy and all of that fun stuff. So, and we've all been around people who it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for the 2 minutes to be over. I don't want to be that kind of person.
And let's call it out. Usually those 2 minutes stretch way beyond their 2 minutes, because they need to have the mic, they need to have the spotlight. And so I love providing the spotlight to the people that are truly showing up in the culture, versus they have to come in and think they have to like grind to get the spotlight. It's a different feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would love to just ask the question for those of you who are tuning in right now or watching the replay. I would love to know what makes you feel like you belong somewhere. What kind of room do you walk in and it feels like home? Is it someone greeting you? Is it being remembered, remembering names? Is it feeling accepted and included? Is it having something in common? I would love for you to comment. What makes you feel like you belong somewhere? Because as network owners and founders and community builders, Debbie and I both have communities that we want to make people feel welcome. And to your point, Debbie, about you wanting to curate those members and make sure they feel safe, and it's a private community, so they know if they comment or share something, it's not going to be blasted out to the world. I had a decision to make with the Be Awesome Network. Am I going to go public, or am I going to keep it private? And it did grow so fast, and it is a large audience. And then I came across the challenge of, I interview and highlight people in my group. And the challenge of it being a private group is that they can't share it because you have to be in the group to see it. So there's pros and cons to both. And I think for me, for my community, I welcome everyone in, and I want to broadcast everything out. So there's a difference there. And, I also have little tight knit private communities within the group to curate those people who are interested in this or that, just like the Be Awesome book that I'm launching. We have a private Facebook group where we can talk and share our chapters and things like that. So anyway, I love this question. If you are watching or listening right now, we want you to join into the conversation. Where do you feel like home? And then Debbie, where have you felt the greatest sense of belonging in your own life? Can you think of some places or groups where you walked in and immediately you're like, oh, this is it?
Well, yours for one, and I'm going to say that out. So I think that it starts with intention. So your intention of how you were building your group and why you were building it was very clear from the outside, me looking in. But as you invited me in, you stated it. I was very clear, like your rules were there. This is what we do. This is why we're here. This is if you want an interview. So I felt very like much that I belonged and that I was beautifully welcomed in and invited. So, a little bit of that. This is special. She's not just going out there looking for 27,000 people. She really does care who comes into her room. And then that highlighting and that celebration. So I definitely felt that with you. One of the things that I will say that I think you do differently than a lot of other people, and I've said it to you before, is that you make everybody feel like they're meeting you personally and that you truly do care about their story, their mission, their purpose. And it doesn't matter if they're man, woman, business or not business, everybody is awesome. And that, I think, if I look at other communities that might say that, but then they don't actually help you feel that way, is there's just an incongruency. So when I know your story, and anybody that's been watching the podcast for a long time, Lori's story is that she just wanted everybody to know how awesome they were. And she's led that intention and built it out perfectly, which again, when you're congruent, magnetism helps you do whatever you have your intentions set on. And so, yeah, true alignment there.
Wow. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that coming from you because you're a master at curating communities and making people feel welcome and also just having people in your atmosphere, I would say. I think that you're really good at that, and I really appreciate that. So thank you. And I to your point, I do love highlighting people, and I do want them to feel welcome. And I think everyone deserves to feel welcome, to feel heard, and to be a change maker. And so I want to encourage people. You're awesome. Please step up and do the thing you want to do, right? And that's really just what I love to do. And so I'm so glad that you said that because I didn't study how to do it, right? And I think that is so key there when you just have a natural welcoming presence. I think people are attracted to you. And I think maybe this is true, maybe it's not. But I think it's like when you actually do recognize your value, that's when you can show up like that.
I agree. And this is perfect because I wanted to circle back to why my community is not only curated, but it is still closed. Because I remember having the conversation with you, made it public. And I really thought about it too. Strategically from a branding, marketing, it made sense. Guess what? The promise that I made to my people, it didn't make sense. The sharing that they were doing, they didn't necessarily want the public to see it or hear it. And so your promise, what you put in your description, is so important that you stay with that promise. Even though, and I mean, there's going to be people here that don't really know the nuances of building a community and all that. Even though any interview that was done would not be public if I turned it public. So all private conversations were still going to be private. But when my shine framework is helping people shine, but it's through self-awareness, healing, intuition, nourishing your mind, body, and soul so that you can make those decisions and then watching you grow and evolve. So it would be hypocritical to me to say to somebody that isn't quite ready to tell their story that they must tell it on a global audience instead of, we're 1,100 people and it's still a stretch, but it's not going out to maybe your sister or maybe your, the person that maybe traumatized you. Not that your sister's the one that did that. So that is not what I'm saying. But it was just, again, it goes back to the intention of why you want community, which I think we're going to get deeper into before, because a lot of people think they're building community just so they can sell to them. And I'm going to tell you that kind of community doesn't work.
No, it does not. You're so right. You're so right. And I love what you just said, that when you make people feel welcome, when you give them the boundaries, when you establish the rules and they know why they're there, then it's so much easier to feel like you're in a good place, right? So we've got a comment coming in, Angels Connect. I know this is Tara. Hello, Tara. She says, when I feel genuine, thank you, by the way, Tara, for participating. We love that. When I feel genuine care, then welcome comes easy. Also, I notice my energy. If I'm filled up and smiling, then I return again. So yeah, definitely. I think that's so true. When we feel filled up and it doesn't drain our energy, then we return, right? And gosh, I've learned this lesson the hard way. Sometimes sometimes I don't give up on people very easily, or situations. And so sometimes I just try too hard. And I just remember sometimes just trying over and over and over, and like almost like forcing it, and you can't force it. And honestly, your body tells you when you're forcing it. So I've learned that the hard way for sure. So thank you, Tara. I love how she says, if I'm filled up and smiling, then I return again. And I think that's important. Smiling is definitely important.
Well,
What do you think about that?
Well, Lori, and two, it goes back to you. Are you actually paying attention? Are you being present enough to notice when you feel like you're being filled up versus you feel like everybody's stealing your energy and you're so depleted after an in-person event or even a podcast or a virtual event? Pay attention to that and do more about what fills you up. I always say, follow the light. The path will lead you to the right place. And that is you sharing your light, but it is also, where is that light reflected back at you? So you're not just giving, but somebody stands up and says, I see this in you too. I get chills as I say that. That is how we build communities that continue to grow, because it's not one person nourishing everybody else's light. I'm not the supplier of your light. I'm here to amplify it.
Wow, I like that. That needs to be like a quote from this from this time together. I love that. We need to amplify each other. And so that leads me to the next question, which is, do you think belonging comes from being around people who are like us, or being around people who allow us to be ourselves, even when we're different? What do you think, Debbie?
Totally allow you to be yourself. All light is welcome. You know what? Even the wounded, maybe darker, maybe negative. I mean, I'm not going to let you sit in that because that's just not my energy, but bring it. Bring it and let me show you how great you are. Bring it and let me show you the greatness inside of you that gets whispered in my ear every time I meet somebody. I have a gift to recognize the light in others. I did it when I was a photographer. I do it now in coaching. I see the light in you. Let me show you that light.
Wow, I love that. I agree. I think, especially in my community, I was learning so much just by meeting people and highlighting them. And I started to make friends all over the world. I started to meet people who thought differently than I did, who believed differently than I did, who were raised in families that were different. And my eyes started to open, and I started to realize how narrow-minded I had been in the past. And so welcoming everyone is so, so very important. And you don't have to agree, right? You don't have to agree.
Lori, isn't that one of the beautiful things about interviewing people? We aren't there to place judgment. We're there to help tell their story. And so you get to see it more as the observer versus the person maybe going, is this right or is this wrong? I don't know if I agree with this. It's got nothing to do with that. You're the interviewer, you're the observer. And I think that's a powerful remembrance of why both of us feel so fulfilled when we get to share somebody else's story.
Absolutely. I just remember some days that were, I might have been low energy, and then I had, an appointment coming up where I was going to highlight someone live, and I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. And then I get on Zoom and I'm like, hi. And it just lights me up. And meeting people, encouraging people, giving them a chance to share, giving them an opportunity to maybe meet someone in the network that they can align with, who needs their help. and who really connects with them emotionally. And I try, I don't think I ever have not connected emotionally with a guest, but there are definitely some that you just go right away, you feel like best friends. And so that's what I want people to feel when they come into the Be Awesome Network. I want them to feel like they are in a place where they can find their friends and be supported and be inspired, and then inspire others too. So yeah, we have very, very different communities, but I think our hearts are in the same place.
I really want to say that, because the essence of our community is very much the same way. The intentions of our communities, how we protect our community. You have really good boundaries. Like, your clear description of what we're here for is so beautifully. What a beautiful example of what that looks like, to be kind and to be assertive at the same time. Like, we can all learn from that in itself. But the other thing is the heart of it. That true, why, Debbie, do you love telling people stories? Lori, why is this important to you? That's at the heart of everything that we do, is we want to also tell those stories of why these people that we're interviewing do what they do. And that's really where we can learn from lived wisdom, which is so important. For me, book wisdom is one thing, but lived wisdom is a whole other ballpark.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can't tell you how many self-help books I've read and circled and highlighted and learned so much from, but then I just don't usually return to those notes. But having that in-person connection and learning and asking questions and helping understand what they do and how they show up in this world and why they show up in this world is something that I never even thought I would enjoy. So I think pushing ourselves to create spaces for people is another thing that's important, not just staying closed and waiting for someone to come to us, right?
Yeah. And I think it continues to evolve into that trust that we talked about at the beginning, is like, I want people to feel safe and to trust. But you know what? I bet you've had this happen. People are like, she can't possibly be that nice that she wants to hear my story, and this is free. So what is in it for her? So it might take somebody on a total business mindset, not really, connected to their core essence and their truth, but are thinking strategy and going, what's her strategy? Why is she just connecting? Why is she just sharing? And so with you, Lori, with a huge community, and you're not only interviewing them, but you also are highlighting them as like, so what's your offer? And you're allowing them to share in your community what their offer is. At first, people are like, what's in it for her? And what you said earlier is that you want these people to meet these people, because there has to be a connection that for the win-win for both audiences, the seeker and the giver.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it brings me so much joy when we actually have a live event and I'm highlighting the person and I'm seeing the comments coming in and they're either asking questions or saying, wow, this is amazing. So it does give me joy to watch other people succeed. And I think that's maybe always been a part of me. Is that always been a part of you too?
Definitely. Definitely. I can say that I fight for the underdog every time. Now, some of that has gotten me into trouble where I have felt responsible for the success of that underdog that maybe wasn't willing to hire me or take strategic advice from me. And so there's an energy that has to like, kind of like, I can only help you so far. You actually have to help yourself. And there is definitely that I never want anybody to be the best kept secret as well, because I know what it's like to be on the other side praying for somebody that has the resources I'm looking for. So yeah, you can go to Amazon and you can Google all the books and you might think you see the resource, and you might even go deeper and you might say, well, if she has that book, then I wonder if she has a course, and you might start being the investigator going down the path. And I've done those, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, because they're beautiful. But what about that true connection to somebody that has actually read the book, taken the course, been through the experiences, and now can customize something for you? That's the type of people we're interviewing, that level that's right next connected and haven't forgotten what it feels like to be where you are right now.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's what's so beautiful about having a community. And I haven't found another social media outlet besides Facebook that does that well, and maybe I just haven't looked far enough or wide enough. But I love the way that a large group on Facebook can bring people together from all over the world, and we can actually have conversations in there, not just comments, but actual conversations. Kind of like what we're doing right now. I love what Craig says. He says sometimes we are the messenger and not necessarily the message. So funny that you say that, Craig, because when I started the Be Awesome Network, I kind of thought it was about I have a story to share and I wanted to kind of share my story, and I wanted to give insight and wisdom and put quotes in there all the time. And what ended up happening is that I realized that I was really just the microphone. I was really just the stage for people to stand on, and not that I don't have valuable things to share, but I didn't want it to be about me. And now I feel very responsible for the group that I've collected and very protective of the people that are in there. And so that's why, Debbie, to your point of why there are rules and why there are boundaries, that's why that only people who are in my inner circle, like you, who I trust, can post. And because I know what your share is going to be valuable, and you're inviting them into events that are happening, and things that can actually change their life. So
But
thank
there's
you.
also that deeper commitment. So I don't know if we wanted to go down this, so feel free to redirect me. But the trusted relationships that happen in communities, if you build them right, there is collaborations, there is trust, there is a trust transfer, there is a stamp of approval saying, I know this person and I trust her. She's not going to lead you down a pathway that I don't believe in. Maybe even that I've taken her courses, I've been part of her world, I understand this. And that's really what I'm building out inside of my community, is that I always say the cream rises to the top. And it's a thing in our farming world that it's just natural. If you allow people the space to shine, they will. The cream will rise. The ones that feel, I mean, you can have a different modality, you can have a different everything else, but if your heart and your purpose is rooted in people, then I want to work with you and I want to give you extra inside of my communities. So in my community, we have moderators and experts that have special permissions that other people don't, because there's people that have never, ever introduced themselves. We don't know them. They don't know me. They come in and they want to post. Not happening. If you can take the time to introduce yourself and let us know who you are, and maybe even comment interviews so that we can interview you, that's like coming into my dinner party and coming in and saying, hey guys, look at me. There's a great party next door. Why don't you join me? And everybody leaves my party and goes to their party. That would be horrible. It's rude. It's not how we do business. It's not how we do life.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's such a great point as to, when we create these spaces and everyone is understanding why they're there and what they're going to experience, then we don't want those people that are just fishing for people to come join them to be a part. And so there have been very rare cases that I've actually had to like kick someone out of the group. But when I did, it was having to do with that. They just would not stop pushing those limits and making it about them. And there's nothing wrong with making it about them as long as there's like an exchange and a value in that, because here I am saying it's all about them, but you know how that goes when someone shows up, like you said, and just is doing this tap dance and saying, look at me, look at me. So I love that. Well, I have another question. And this question is, do you think people are craving community more today than they used to? What do you think, Debbie?
Yeah, and specific communities for sure. I've told this story before, but it's worth saying right now, is that, I've been part of a community for 9 years now, and we do live events where there's thousands of people in each Zoom room, and then there's thousands of Zoom rooms. So we're talking 1 million people online at the same time at these events. there is people that will not leave the event after it closes. So we play a song and we play a song and we're like, one more song and we're closing. And our motto is we don't want to leave them if they're not ready to leave. And people don't want to leave. They just sat there like they had a lifeline and they want connection and they're still in the chat. Now, there is the people that are in the chat because they're trying to do business, which is a no-go. And then there's the people that are just so thrilled that somebody actually heard them, even though they never spoke, even though it was all in the chat, somebody heard them.
Yeah.
That's why I believe connection is so important right now, is that we have a world that we were talking about. I'm from a small community and we used to just on Sundays get together. That's just what you did. And now more and more people are staying at home watching TV or being on the internet. We're not playing cards. We're not having a picnic. We're not visiting. We need that connection.
I totally agree. I think when the world shut down for that year in 2020, everyone started to create new habits of being online and finding communities and even gaming and like you said, movies and being introverts. Like it was driving me crazy. I was like, I need people. And so we get into those habits of staying separate. And I think it was someone I heard a talk not too long ago where people, like you said, used to gather. They used to do, church on Sundays and have potlucks afterwards. And they used to, and it was like the invention of garages that are attached to your house and air conditioning, because they used to sit out on their porches because they needed air, right?
Yeah.
Because it was so stale and hot inside. So I was like, oh, wow. So sometimes those conveniences that we are enjoying in our lives actually inconvenience us and tear us apart instead of bringing us together. And I remember having a neighbor for a good couple of years. I never even saw them because they just drive in, shut the garage, go inside, get in the car, open the garage, drive out, So I think that's kind of a sad gesture of where we've ended up. And I would love to return to the getting together for potlucks.
Yeah, so super cool. So every winter we go to Mexico for 3 months. And one of the things that you said is everybody's out on their porch at night. When you walk down the street, you're waving, you're talking, you're chattering. You might even be gathering at the ice cream shop, visiting. And I love that. I kind of feel like I'm going back into that world. But the other thing that I wanted to mention is that no matter what type of community you think you want to be a part of, there's a two-way energy exchange that happens. You have to show up and be seen. Like you have to, don't put your wall up and go like this. I really want somebody to see me, but I'm not allowing it. I'm not allowing their energy in. And it also has to be an inviting place, because there's nothing worse than going to anything, a community, an event, anything, and feeling like you don't belong, feeling more lonely in community than you were in your own house, in your own basement. So even though we're craving it, let's make sure we're being intentional about from both sides, the side of the giver and the side of the receiver, so that we're making sure that our energy and intentions are clear.
I love that. I love that. And thank you, Tara, for your comment. Wow, that's so true. People are connection starved and craving deep heart to hearts. I love that. Tara is actually in one of my smaller communities within the Be Awesome Network. And I just shared this week that it really means a lot to me to get together with these people, because I start to really connect and love them and want to support them and help them in any way I can. Not that I don't feel that for everyone, or not that I wouldn't extend that to anyone who wanted to be a part of that. But, you just start to really connect with someone when you are in that smaller group within the group. And yes, people are starved to, and they're craving deep heart to hearts. So that kind of leads me to our round where we go quick fire, the the community edition. We're going to ask a question. There's going to be this or that. So here's a good question. I like this. Which matters more, being welcomed or being remembered? What do you think,
Oh,
Debbie?
probably the remembered. I think welcome could be just an automatic response. It's like, how are you doing today? And then not listening for the response. So I think the remembered feels better to me.
I totally agree. And I'm one of those people who I have to hear your name like probably 3 or 4 times before I remember it. So I always tell people I'm so sorry. I don't remember your name. So that's something I need to improve on, right? And it's like being remembered, but I will remember things about them. Like, oh, your dog, your dog is, a crazy lab or something like that. Like we've shared stories, we've shared memories. And so I love that. Being remembered is so important. And so give us some tips on how you remember people, Debbie, because you do
Well,
have
I,
a lot of
I
community.
think it's the same thing as you. I remember a piece of their story. I definitely their mission, their purpose, something that stood out that we actually connected at a deeper level, right? I really will remember and connect to you if I know that you're embodying what you're saying. Like there's just a like zing to me where it's like zone in on this person. They are gold. And one of the biggest fears I have is being put into a room where I will forget somebody's name or I won't remember somebody at all. And so that still terrifies me and just makes me feel sick to my heart. But I can guarantee you, I remember their energy.
Absolutely, absolutely. There was a season, speaking to Tara, who's listening, there was a season where I was calling her Tara. And I have another person in my tighter community named Savannah, not Savannah, Savannah. And so those moments when you get it wrong, it's like I cringe. And I saw your face cringe when I say I have a hard time remembering people's names.
Well, and I cringe because I didn't believe it to be true. Like you just have an exceptional memory of like the people you've interviewed. It's been amazing to witness.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, and that's probably one of the things that I'm really hard on myself if I can't remember, right? And but yeah, but what's at the core of that I think is important because I care. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's because I care that it really bothers me when I can't remember or pronounce someone's name right, right? So I love that. Well, thank
I
you,
have an
Debbie.
example of it, and I think
Okay.
it's like, yeah. So there's a person that's been in my world for at least 7 years. I know her, but her name is spelt differently. So Eileen and Irene are almost identical instead of there's an L instead of the R. And so I'm doing this conference, this business conference, and she raises her hand, and I bring her to the front of the stage and called her by the wrong name. And she got up and she whispered, Debbie, it's Eileen. And I said, I know, but my cousin's name is Eileen and it's spelled differently. And I just can't make myself say it properly. But I still just get that kick in the gut feeling that I
Mhm.
dishonored her by saying the wrong name. And
Yeah.
she was so genuine and so good about it. But yeah, I'm hard on myself. I won't forgive myself for doing that in public.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I can imagine how that felt, right? Because I've been in situations like that too, and I think we all have. But again, it's the caring. It's because you care is why it bothers you so much. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That makes me feel a little bit better. Okay, we're going to go on to another question of this or that. Which creates more connection, laughing together or being vulnerable together? This one's a hard one for me.
Yeah, and I wanted you to say crying together because
Mhm.
being vulnerable together doesn't actually mean that you went deep. It means you spilled something. So that doesn't always create a connection. But when
Interesting.
you actually get to the point that you not only said it, but heard the other person, Now there is maybe tears, and that feels like another level altogether. So that's my answer.
Oh, wow. I love that. You know, Debbie, you and I are in a smaller group. I'm just going to put my hair up real quick. It's driving me crazy.
Good.
You and I are, this is me being vulnerable, just me being me. You and I are in a smaller group, and we're doing Ignite, which is what we've talked about a couple times before in previous episodes, and there will be spots opening up in the future. We're in this small group, and I did not expect this, but there's an opportunity at the end of our time together to share. Well, all throughout, but both weeks I've cried. And I'm like, I guess it's just going to be my thing that I cry every week. But I think that's such an important point because, yes, being vulnerable, and I don't think I've ever heard it said that way. You can spill your guts in an ingenuine way and just to get it out there, get it off your chest, or tell a story in some way, shape, or form. But to cry, to be vulnerable, to admit when you're wrong, to admit when you are struggling, it's a whole nother level. So I think I'm going to have to agree with you.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to what we said about community in the first place. Both of us care so deeply about creating that safe space for people to feel that. And there's compassion because both of us have been in communities or places in our life we didn't feel seen or heard or valued or respected. And so this is such a core value to both of us. And then the Ignite call, absolutely even more so, is the magic we're calling in as we create this intentional space for people to actually get out of their own way. And so there's one thing: you have to feel completely safe for you to even see or hear the things that are blocking you, right? If we put our wall up, we can't even see. We got blinders on. We can't see the problem. So I love it when I witness somebody have tears because number one, it means it matters. And number two, it means we've created that space that allowed them to go deeper than they've ever gone before. And that really is what matters to me, is the transformation we can take people through.
Yes, absolutely. And you're right. Feeling safe in a space, safe enough to cry and to show that side of you is 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 magic in and of itself, right? It's this bond that you feel as a person who's participating, that you feel safe with those people and that you know those are my people, right? I mean, you meet people that you're like, oh, you're my person, you're my people.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, we're gonna this is a tough question too. This is the last spitfire, whatever you want to call it, round, but this is interesting to me. Community builders, speaking about community builders, which do you feel is better, great speaker or great listener as a community builder?
I would probably say listener. I think that, again, if we open up a space to be seen and heard and valued, it has to be that we listen and we see them. And if we're so busy talking, that's probably not the role that you're there to do.
Absolutely. I remember learning this and catching myself doing this very thing. It was some sort of a study or a book or something, but I remember reading this and learning this, and it was all about being a great listener. So when someone is talking, do you think about the thing that you're going to say, or do you actually listen to what they're saying? That was really convicting to me because there were times, I remember times when I'm in a conversation and I just can't wait to say something. And so instead of listening to that person, I'm thinking about what I'm going to say. So that really helped me become a better listener. And now I get to interview people and I actually listen to what they're saying and I come up with a question that dives a little deeper. And a lot of times when we get off of the live interview and we're talking afterwards, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you asked such good questions," and I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for that, because I was going to say the exact same thing. It's that the best praise that I can get, feedback I can get, is that you're such a great listener. You heard things that I said and you picked up on them, and that feels to me as that core value of mine of really listening with my whole body, because I actually will feel in their body if they're having a resistance. I will hear a whisper, ask something deeper. And I've noticed that in you too. You're very in tune to theirs. But let's talk about the other side of that, because both of us were probably in that place that you said, where you're like, oh my God, I have to think about something to respond. Is it going to be right? Am I going to say the wrong thing? Am I going to ask the wrong questions? Like, small talk conversation for me is harder than going deep. So it's like my mind wants to go deep, but then everybody in that specific group or coffee chat wants to say surface level. And I just feel like I don't have anything to say. And so I worry about tripping up. I worry that's when I'm not listening. I'm zoning out because it's thinking, I don't fit here. This conversation doesn't matter to me. Why can't we just go deep and trust each other?
I love that, because what you said is so key. When you feel like you're safe and you are apart, then you listen well. But if you're feeling a little bit like I don't belong here, then you're thinking about what am I going to say, what am I going to do? And thank you, by the way, Tara. She says it's so inspiring that you both care and lead with your hearts to nurture your communities. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And speaking of that, we want to nurture this community. So thank you, those of you who are watching and contributing to the conversation. I say this a lot. I've looked and followed podcasts for a while, and we just, I feel like, Debbie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we just kind of stumbled upon this. But I think we're the only podcast is actually live and interactive, right? And we're taking the comments and we're actually changing maybe what we were going to talk about because of something that someone said, And so thank you, Tara. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, everyone else who's been listening, watching, and commenting. We value what you have to say, and we're listening. We're listening. All right. Well, I want to go into a little bit of a deeper dive into behind the communities that you and I have built, Debbie. I want to know, why did you originally create your community?
Yeah, well, I have two communities, and the first one was created 7 years ago, and it was connecting heart-centered entrepreneurs, people with a true mission, a message, a lived experience that they went through. And the reason I created that one is because I was in this bigger world. I talked to you guys earlier about the millions of people coming into rooms, and the people that I seen struggling the most were the people that were being told, do these 5 things and you'll have success. And true heart-centered entrepreneurs that are connected to their core divine calling, they can't do it that way. They have to connect back and feel aligned in their truth so they can create from that space. And so I created that one first, and it's men and women. And the reason they're heart-centered, purpose-driven. They aren't just somebody that wants to hustle and do the things that other people are telling them to do. They're there for a reason. And then the newest community, which I think is coming up 2 years, is Be Extraordinary Women's Network. And that is a really interesting story, because I already had this other community and I kept being called to share women's stories that may or may not be an entrepreneur. They may be a volunteer their whole life. They were my aunts, those people that have made such a difference to my life and to so many people's lives. They were community builders. They were people that had done and volunteered and created in their own communities. And yet, if I'm only over here talking about entrepreneurs and people that want to build a business, I'm missing out on a whole bunch of gold. And so I created this to really curate and celebrate women from all over the world, no matter what age, to come and not only see hope and possibility in someone else's story, but to be able to see themselves and go, wow, I'm extraordinary too.
I love that. I love that. And I remember when I first met you and you said you had the Be Extraordinary Women's Network. I was like, we have similar communities, right? Because you wanted to shine the extraordinary qualities of these women and I wanted to highlight people's awesomeness, you know? So I mean, we were just like in tune from the very beginning, and I love that so much.
Yeah. So let's talk about your community. Why did you want to grow your community? Why did you even decide to do this in the first place?
Yeah, I talked just a tiny bit about this at the beginning, but you know, I thought my ideas was that I overcame a lot and I started to feel awesome. So the original name for my community was Be Awesome at Any Age. And I had like in my head that we were gonna, you know, talk about, you know, you can still live a good life in your 50s and your 60s and your 70s. And I, you know, so my mind shifted though when I realized that, you know, I don't want to leave anyone out. I want everyone to feel and know that they're awesome. And so yeah, I felt like I had something to give. And also, I had always supported other people's missions, other people's visions. I'd never really sat down and said, what do I want to do? What do I want to start? You know? So I was that supporter of other people and I was really good at it. But then I was like, well, it's time to support myself and do something fun, right? And so that's really, I mean, it was born out of just a desire to show up and bring people together. And I knew that I wanted to have a little bit more freedom in my life. And I wanted to be on the computer and take my business with me wherever I go around the world. That was my thought. And then, you know, to meet all of these incredible people from all over the world. Now I want to go visit them all. So yes, our hearts are the same. Be extraordinary, be awesome. And you know, why I wanted why I want to build a community and keep building it is because people need to hear that. People need to know that they're awesome. And to have a focused group to somewhere to go every single day to hear that you're awesome, I think is a super important element to why I created the Be Awesome Network. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, when we talk about aligned and congruent, pure intentions, that's exactly, you're such a beautiful living example of that. You might have created it for you, but then you fueled that fire by watching other people have be fulfilled inside of your community, which has led you to create different offers, which has led you to create your more coaching opportunities and now your book deal that you're doing. This all happened because you fulfilled something that was being whispered in your ear that it was needed. And then maybe whether you do it for yourself or you do it for others, you kept going with it. And so, yeah, again, I applaud you for everything that you've created.
Well, thank you. And I think we both agree it's both. It fills me up, like what Tara was mentioning earlier. It fills me up. It makes me happy. It makes me feel fulfilled, like I'm doing something important that matters. But it also fills other people up. And like I said, I started it maybe a little selfishly, just thinking I want this to be my thing. But as it was growing and as I was listening and learning so much from other people, like I said, my mind just opened up and I realized that, you know, in order to build a good community, you have to include everyone and it can't be about one person, you know. And I don't want it to be about me, but I do want to help. And that's where the programs came from, like seeing the need, talking to almost 400 entrepreneurs, seeing the need for them with technology or them with, you know, building their business and showing up and being present online and all the tricks and tips that go along with that. It's very tricky. You know this. And, you know, yeah, it's being visible, right? Being visible, getting your message out there to other people, to other awesome people who are just sitting there waiting to hear what you have to say. So, so fun.
Well,
So
and
fun.
it's, Lori, it's such a good example of listening. You listen to the need in front of you, and then you went, I can help them. And then you created that help.
Yeah.
That's so much better than somebody saying, I watched these guys tell me I could do this thing if I do these 3 steps and I do this thing. There isn't even any heart in it. They don't know why they're doing it. You already started with your why. So creating from that point just continued to flourish. This is, again, you're such a living example of somebody that takes their mission and their message and turns it into a business.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. And I want that for everyone. I want everyone to wake up every morning and enjoy what they do, you know? Well, the next question, there are so many good questions here. We could talk for a whole nother hour, but we're not going to, don't worry. Our final question is this, and I think this is just the heart of all of what we've talked about. Has someone you met through your community, Debbie, become an important person in your actual life?
Yes, many, 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 many people. I call them deep friends. I visit different places in the world. It's amazing that, we've been together for 6 years and then I finally get to hug them in person. I know them better than I know my neighbors. Yes, many, many, many operations like that. I've been part of projects all over the globe. I am so blessed.
I love that. I love that for you. And I will say the same. It's been 2.5 years. One gal in particular couldn't be here with us live. She messaged me and said, I can't be live today. But yeah, I mean, we've just formed this connection. And like you, I would love to go visit some of these wonderful souls, men and women. One in particular, I'm helping her with her business, and she just got, I don't know, she has 5 clients now, I think, and she just launched a few weeks ago, and it's just so fun. And but we also laugh and send each other funny videos of our dogs, and like you said, we connect. And I will always call her an amazing, wonderful friend. And so I think that's just, I hope that encourages people who are out there who maybe don't have a community yet or want to start a community. I would say start it. Go ahead, because we there's enough for everyone.
Yeah, and it's okay if that feels hard and heavy, and because people like us, we invite you into our community so you can invite your people in too. It's not just you bring your friends too. I know community building isn't for everybody, and honestly, people can feel that if it's just too much. It's not right or wrong. You didn't fail. It's just not what you're meant to do. Sometimes nourishing people inside of somebody else's community is the role that you might be wanting to take on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Such a great point. Wow. Well, we're going to end our time. Like I said, we could talk for a whole nother hour, Debbie. But I do want to remind everyone who's listening or watching, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, wherever you are, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or any of the Apple, Spotify, any of where you listen, I want to remind you that you're a part of our community. And we want to hear from you. So please comment below if you missed the live conversation, but you have some thoughts. We would love to hear from you. Because it is a shared diary. We're opening up our diary, and we would love for you to open up yours as well. And I also want to mention that we do have some resources on shareddiarypodcast.com. There is an episode guide for every single episode we've done. This is episode number 13, which is really hard to think about. And we'll be launching season 2 soon, so stay tuned for that. But you can go there and you can get that episode guide, that reflection guide, somewhere where you can add your thoughts to yourself, answer questions, and dig a little deeper on the topic we're talking about. I've seen these episode guides and they are really hitting home for me. It's like, oh, wow. Okay. I need to think about that. So definitely dive into the website and get connected that way. And then, of course, if you're on YouTube, we would love a like and follow and subscribe and all of that, just because we're building our community here. And we'd love for you to be a part and get those notifications so you don't miss a conversation. But every week we have a couple questions that we ask. And this is something where you can grab your diary and you can answer these questions. They're really great to reflect on. And that is, what's bringing you joy right now? What's challenging you right now? What's inspiring you right now? And then what's one thing you're grateful for this week? The bonus question for the week is, who is someone you've met through community that you're really grateful came into your life? So think about that. Be grateful. So Debbie, I would love it. We always have this final question where we say, what's your diary entry for this week. So what is your diary entry for this week? If you wrote one sentence at the bottom of today's diary, what would it say?
I am so grateful that I said yes to building community. I'm so grateful that this is something that fills my cup up and that I can really find pride in.
I love that. I love that. I think I will mirror that in some ways and say, I am so grateful that I did the thing that I was scared of.
Mm-hmm.
And that was being visible and putting yourself out there. It's a risk, but it's so worth it. And now I look back in my life. I've said this before, the Be Awesome Network is one of those key points in my life where I can say a before and an after. Who is Lori before? Who is Lori now? And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all of the Be Awesome Network community and family, and Debbie, your community as well, because this will be showing in both of our communities. And we're thankful for you listening and watching and being a part. So please come back next week at 2 p.m. Eastern and join us, because we all know that the life is better when the diary is open. Before we close today's diary, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for spending your time with us, for listening, for reflecting, and for being willing to open your heart along with ours. It truly means more than you know. The shared diary isn't just our story, it's yours too. If today's conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or reminded you that you're not alone, we'd love for you to stay connected. You can find us at shareddiarypodcast.com, where you'll discover episode archives, resources, and ways to connect with our community. If you'd like to reach out to Lori, Debbie, or Nicole, you'll find all of our information there as well. We'd love to hear your story. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, don't forget to like this episode, leave us a comment, and subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you enjoy podcasts, be sure to follow the show, leave a rating, and share it with someone who might need to hear today's message. Most importantly, keep showing up, keep growing, keep sharing your story, because life is better when the diary is open. We're here for you. You're not alone. We'll see you next time on The Shared Diary.